today, in our short time together, we're hoping to give you some best practices from two people who are practicing this skill of discipleship in their own settings. And I think you're going to be a little bit shocked at what they say, but I just encourage you that and really trust it's going to be 100% real, and it's going to be 100% things that you can do when you disciple others, whether it be young life kids or even adults in your community if they're part of your committee. So I'm going to start by introducing our two amazing guests. We have Ellie and Gallo. And why don't we start with Ellie?
Great. Yeah, I'm Ellie. I lead a group of freshman girls in North Spokane. They attend Mount Spokane High School. They're freshmen this year. I've been walking with them for about a year and a half now. They come from a mixed background of faith. Some of the girls have attended church regularly, some that have never attended. So definitely a diverse group of girls that way.
Awesome.
My name is Eduardo Gallo, and I'm serving kids, high school kids, freshmen this year. Many of these kids are Hispanics, and many of them as well don't go to church at all, and some of them are some Catholic background.
Awesome. All right, well, let's dive in here. When we look at the DNA of Young Life, what we do is we go where kids are, and that doesn't change if we're in pandemic or if we're not in pandemic. And one of the things I've heard you say, Gallo, is that it's important that we create an excuse to hang out with kids. What do you mean by that?
Well, kids live in a gotta go world. They're in the move. You cannot have them for too long in Zoom calls, and they just don't want to be there. And something that I've been doing lately, it is just all of a sudden I had to go to Walmart, and I called some kids, one kid at a time. Hey, you want to hang out with me? And they just like things spontaneous, and often they just like call me, hey, you want to do things? If I'm available, I just let them come alongside with me, or I go with them. But it just often look for every opportunity you have. Either pick in 10 minutes, pick a coffee, you just go drop him, take it, or you pass him by McDonald's, get a cheeseburger, drop it, and say, hey, I was thinking about you today. Can I pass by your house? So kids don't last too long lately. They're even in their phone. They swipe and next. So take that small opportunity you have, empower them, and love them well in a small time that you have.
I love that. Yeah, if you're not taking up those opportunities, those moments just pass you by. Mm-hmm. What do you see are obstacles, Gallo? Because you're an area director, you have a lot of leaders working with you. What are obstacles that keep people from meeting up with kids?
They don't manage their time to. And other obstacles is people who I have leaders that are married. I have leaders that I have full-time job, but I always believe in I invite leaders, hey, if you're gonna go for a walk, take a kid with you. And it is just mostly it's our time that we don't I believe that in this 21st century is no money, the currency is time. And you have to take advantage of that currency that is time. And your time has to be managed properly for the gospel, because they just require a small amount of time so you can impact their lives.
Mm-hmm. Good. And Ellie, you are a busy person and you work with a lot of busy leaders in North Spokane. How do you make a busy life a life that can be focused on discipleship?
Yeah, I think the reality is your life is one of the most tangible way that kids will experience the reality of the gospel, which should be a little bit scary. I think it's a big responsibility. At least it's scary for me, but it also doesn't have to mean a ton of time in terms of, what Gallo said, inviting kids into your life. When you're hanging out with your friends, inviting a Young Life kid to come join you. If you're going to go on a run and your kids are athletes, go for a run with them. One of the biggest joys for me has been playing soccer with some of the girls, which, it doesn't have to be as draining because it's part of what you're already doing in your life. Going grocery shopping. It's as we just like live our life that is transformed by Christ, kids will experience that and see that. And I think being transparent is really important for kids So it's not just an hour of a week that you're walking with Christ, and they want to see that. So as you're, driving in the car and you are dealing with an interruption or somebody cutting you off, they get to just witness how you live your life for Christ. And I think that is the most important thing. So it doesn't have to be as, as busy, in your busy life, they just get to walk alongside you. So inviting them into that is really important.
Awesome. So you've committed to making time for kids and you're doing life with them. How do you create the kind of environment that where trust is built? How do you build that safe environment, Ellie?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge challenge. And you want to create a space that, like, the goal is to create a space where kids can be open and vulnerable and that they trust you, right? Young Life is about relationships, and that means it's all about building trust. So I didn't really know the answer. And so I asked my Young Life kids, I said, why do you trust me? Instead of just guessing why. And I think the biggest thing for them was how I pursued them one-on-one. Kids want that to know that you care about them. And the biggest way you can do that is show up consistently, show up to watch their sports, driving them home from school, giving them rides when before they have their license, going on walks. I think right now, even just showing up and talking with them 6 feet apart from their house, that communicates to them that you actually care for them. And once you're able to show up for them and they begin to trust you, then asking good questions, allowing them to have space to share what's going on in their life, what their challenges are in their life with their families or friends, or they do want to share, they want to be known. And so asking those questions, providing space for that is definitely a start. And I think too, the second would be having a balance between having hard conversations about what's going on in their life and then just space to play and have fun together. That's really also important to kids. Otherwise, if it's all just challenging conversations, pushing them to grow, pushing them to engage with things that are going on in their life, they'll get burned out. But so there's time for play. That also communicates that you care. Doing things they want to do, whether that's making food or going out to eat, taking them out, buying them food, all these things help communicate that you're really for them, that you want to be for them. And then once you do that, then you have the ability to kind of balance also having hard conversations, pushing them to grow. But having the ability to, have flexibility with that and be attentive to what their needs are in different seasons is important.
Tell me what you do. You talked about asking great questions. So tell me about asking great questions.
Yeah. Asking good questions, I think is really important when it comes, especially to campaigners times or small group times. It's also for me one of the hardest things. I spend majority of my time in preparation, not on necessarily the content, but on what questions I'm going to ask. I think it's a skill I'd love to grow in and have been challenged in, is how can I ask a question that allows kids to think for themselves and encounter Jesus through maybe the story we're reading about or the content that we're looking at or video we're watching, or the questions, not yes or no questions or right or wrong questions, but questions that really allow them to relate what we're talking and thinking about to what's going on in their life. And then the second thing is obviously learning how to listen when they respond to those questions, to be able to ask a good follow-up question. So those are important. I wouldn't say I'm an expert yet, but I do try to work really hard at that.
Gallo, you are also a fantastic question asker. Can you tell us about how you think about asking questions to kids?
Two things that I want to say about that. I always try to do a question that doesn't going to make them feel too attacked or feel like they get in shock and they close doors. I ask simple questions. Hey, do you think it's possible that this is the only life? And they start questioning questions like, I have a conversation with an adult, like, with one of the parents about, hey, do you believe there is bad things and good things? Because the parent don't believe in God. So we end up talking about God because I asked the question, if there were bad things and good things, he believed in bad things. To be bad things, you have to have good things. Also, one of the things that help kids is when you ask a question or they ask you a question, and if you don't have the answer, you say, I don't have the answer, because it gives you then trust, that it gives you space for them to trust in you. Also, talking a little bit questions that I grew up in pretty religious background, and choosing God. If you don't choose God, I will go somewhere else.
Mm.
That was they were doing manipulative questions, telling me, a, or you accept God, or no, you going this way. So we have to be careful, because we can damage uh, the beginning or a great relationship with kids, or a great start for them to ask those questions. It just, we have to be careful how we answer, also what questions we do, but also if we don't have the answer, we need to be honest and tell them, I don't know the answer.
Thanks for that. And I don't know can be can be really powerful, because that's the truth, right? We don't know. Ellie, you also have some other best practices to bring ownership into your group. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, one of the important things for me with campaigners is giving ownership to the girls to kind of create what kind of environment they want. This, we try to revisit this maybe once or twice a year when we're starting off a new season. This would be great at the beginning of a school year, and that's kind of asking them what do you want to talk about? What are you already thinking about that you want to talk about? What questions do you have? Maybe they won't share out loud, but maybe they'd write questions down, or they'd say, hey, I have questions related to this. That's important, I think. And then also maybe even shaping expectations. Hey, do you want to, pre-COVID, do you want to do dinner before and then talk about it? Or, okay, we're in COVID, do you want to do a bonfire and do it around a bonfire? And so by doing that, you're letting them have some say in it. And if they have say in it and they want to talk about those things, then they're going to want to show up and they're going to want to engage. So I think putting one example is, hey, do you guys want to have some restrictions on your phone? Yeah, we want to put our phones away so we can actually have conversations with each other. Great. And then I don't have to enforce that because you have already said you'd like to do that, which helps, right? It doesn't become like you telling them what we're doing every week, but instead it's like we together as a group are deciding kind of expectations or what we're going to talk about. And I think that's important for kids. And I think it gives them ownership and continues to treat them like adults, which is something that they are wanting to be treated like. So yeah.
That is a great way to create community. That's awesome. Gallo, you also have some best practices. Tell us about some of the ways that you actually teach the Bible to kids.
Well, years ago, I learned something different, and they've been using it in countries where you're not supposed to share the gospel, and it's more undercover. So you can do it in small groups with the Bible, with the journal. But I call DBS, Discovery Bible Study, and we have a set of questions where we ask questions. What is something that is that stuck out to you in this Bible verse, and what it means to you? What are you going to do about it? You do 3 columns. One column is what we rewrite the verse, what it means to you, and what are you going to do about it. 3 simple things, but we also have some set of questions that make them elaborate those 3 answers. But in this one, you can do oral, you can do with people walking, because it has to be more organic. These kids are in the move. You have to do to their own pace, because it honestly has to be organic in the moment sometimes, and they don't feel. Many of the kids that I've been working are tired of sitting in just sermon. They don't want to sit, and someone does worship and a sermon, and that's for them the way that they know. And I have done that. I drive in my car, and it's been more powerful driving in my car, asking those questions and answer those questions while I pick them up from the school and drop them at their house. It is a way to make things easy for them. Our youth pastor told me, hey, if I would do this different, I would start doing it like that, and instead of sitting with all the kids and discipling them in small groups. And it works in both ways, but I have done this with leaders as well. I have friends who have done in Muslim countries, and it's just pretty organic, like, so it helps and it works. And I do on the go. It's on the go. And I've been memorizing some of the questions that automatically I just drop them over there. And another thing, as you show this to kids, you teach them how to facilitate, and sometimes you just there and they're facilitators. They facilitate the same questions. And as you walk with one specific kid that you discipline the most, you're John, because you're going to have the three, and two, one of them will be the closest one. So you teach the same process, and they can do it by themselves and ask those questions, and you rotate as they learning. You share the
Mhm.
same thing so everyone can facilitate, and you don't become only the person to do it, but they help you facilitate those questions, and everyone become familiar of the way to do it, either oral or in a paper. And it works well in always, but I do it on paper, but with kids sometimes I do
Mhm.
face-to-face oral.
That's amazing. You're just using that same pattern with the same questions. They're able to repeat that, and you're teaching them a method that they'll be using and facilitating with. That's just beautiful. Okay, we're going to wrap up, but I would love each of you to tell me what is your COVID encouragement to people?
I'd say one of the things I hold on to is a line of one of the professors that I had at Whitworth that said, "The Lord wastes nothing." And it feels like in this season, just sticking to the basics, which is pursuing kids one on one, driving to houses, conversations outside, going for walks, taking a kid up with you skiing, whatever it is, sitting outside a bonfire, driving them to school, whatever it is, FaceTiming them, helping tutor them in classes. Those like small little things that maybe seem really unmeaningful, or it feels like you can't connect with a kid, or it's only over text, or whatever it is, that the Lord is in it. And for me, I'm playing the long game of just trusting that as I continue to show up in these kids' lives, that the Lord is already at work. He's the one continuing to work. And ultimately, I'm laying the groundwork for when things return normal and life feels a little bit more like it did a year ago, that there's relationships that have been really rooted and grounded in just the little things, and that the Lord will finish the work that He's already started. So that's the Lord wastes nothing is the reminder that I hold to.
Even in COVID, nothing has changed. The Lord is the same one before, now, and for the years coming. I think I totally was struggling last year with the whole COVID, but the God is still the same one. So you continue doing incarnational ministry. One thing that always remind me, when Jesus says, "Come and see," there were John the Baptist disciples there, and they were saying, "Who's the Messiah?" And they point, "Oh, he's the one who was walking over there. Who's walking?" And they point to him, and they went after Jesus, and they said, "You're the Messiah. Where are you staying?" And he say, "Come and see." He told, "Come and see, spend time with me." So we need to continue doing this incarnational ministry. That is the key for every success that we can have in ministry. Like one president says, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And we need to continue being incarnate with kids. Discipleship is more than just doing a Bible study. It's walking alongside with them in the murky waters.
Awesome. Well, thanks you two, and to all of you committee and leaders out there. We hope that you're encouraged that to keep on keeping on, to take the opportunity to know that your time is currency, to be incarnational, to pursue kids, to ask them amazing questions, to live real life with them, even if that means you got to say, "I don't know." To take the opportunities. So much can be done in a ride to and from school in the car. It doesn't have to be sitting down with a journal and a Bible, but some of those most valuable life lessons are beyond that. The Lord wastes nothing. And so we pray that you will take up every opportunity to disciple kids in your community.